which is brewed today, is caramel macchiato, again, programmed with intention of wisdom. Also, why my hair is gray or silver, I'm trying to have some of the lessons revealed for myself as to the wisdom I need to have right now when dealing with certain things. So that's what I'm manifesting. And that's what is coming to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Of course, I'm gonna be putting this up on my YouTube as well. So make sure you guys go subscribe to my YouTube after this if you can't watch the whole thing right now or miss something. And also just to keep updates on some of my other content. I have like over 200 videos on my YouTube with a lot of information and free readings. So check that out. My YouTube is psychicgoddesserika, Erika with a K, Erika. Same as here on my Instagram. So I have some notes because I didn't want to forget. Before I get into that topic, which is about why I feel we need to have more open psychics in like as therapists and also as like detectives and stuff. I'll get into that. But today's Q&A, often I'm asked whether or not knowing the future can change your future, or like if getting a psychic reading can change and influence your future. And yes, knowing your future can change it for the good or the better, but that really the good or the bad, but that depends upon you. And so let me explain. Hello. So your future is changing moment to moment. Your future is going to change based upon what you're thinking, what you're feeling, your belief system, and your actions. So the future is created in the now. So for example, if you get a reading and it's something that you want to know or that you were hoping to hear and it's good news, and then you're continuing on that positive path and following the guidance given, for example, and working on yourself, doing the self-work, your future is likely to continuously go in a positive path because you're creating in that moment. If you get a reading that you don't necessarily like, for example, and instead of seeing the lessons in it and maybe why it wasn't what you hoped for example, and then you continue on a negative path, that's also creating your future in a negative direction. But it's not just about the reading or what you're getting in a reading at all, to be honest, even though I do this every day for a living. It's more about you. This is why lately, just full transparency, I have been feeling a way about predictions and predicting people's futures, because I am the kind of reader that I want you to manifest the future for yourself, for you. I don't think future is set in stone. When I give a reading, this is where I see it's likely to go based upon the energy I'm seeing right now, and likely the momentum of decisions of your past and the things that you have done in the past, or that the person you're asking about has done in the past. But future is not set in stone, and you can change it. Like this is an example, like if I give a reading and I'm like, Spirit is saying to focus on yourself right now. Don't worry about this. It's right now it's not likely to go where you want it to go. Focus on yourself. And if you allow the space, it's likely that I feel this person will contact you again, but etc., etc. But if you make the choice to not take that advice and you then go and contact that person, you've likely altered the prediction altogether. How you handled it influenced things, because future is not set in stone. So and regardless of if you're getting a reading or not, you're always creating your future in the present moment. So This is why being mindful of your thoughts, being mindful, having self-awareness, and having your own connection to your own spirit and your own intuition. Sorry, my nose is itching right now. Is really, really important. That's been happening a lot lately. Always the left side, the divine feminine side. Maybe that's a new ascension thing I'm experiencing. Like, what is it, Bewitched? No, I Love Genie. And we're talking about manifestation. But anyway, so future's not set in stone. Your future is always changing moment to moment. The good news is that even if you're having a bad day, because we all have our bad days, we all have our off days. The good news is it doesn't mean that because you're having a bad day or you're going through something, the good news is it doesn't mean that you're automatically instantaneously manifesting a horrible future for yourself. That's not the case. The key is to know that we all go through things at times. We all go through shadow work. And it's not okay to just like positively think it away, because that doesn't work. Especially when you're somebody who's a real victim of traumas, and we all have our different traumas in different ways. There's a difference between knowing that we're going through something right now and, you know, feeling that, processing it, trying to find the root cause and working to overcome and grow from it, which is what shadow work is, versus believing that your life is always going to be horrible. Like, if you're continuously teaching and telling yourself that your life is always going to be horrible, well then where thoughts flow, where attention goes, energy flows, is what I'm trying to say. Thoughts become things. So if that's the case, then you are likely to continuously create experiences in the future that are horrible. You draw that to you. But you can always change that. That's the thing. So there's a difference between understanding and knowing that you're going through something in the moment and acknowledging that and working through it and healing, versus always believing and continuously thinking, oh, life is, I'm always manifesting people that don't love me, or I'm always depressed, or things are always going to be bad for me. There's a difference there. Yes, I agree. Yes, I'm glad that we're on the same page. So there's a difference there. And so I say that to say, just because you're going through a tough time, if you are consciously choosing to get help, to work through it, to make the change, to better yourself, you can change your future. Your future is changing moment to moment. And if you're already in a good path, if you're already in a good vibration, you know, likely you can continue to manifest great things in your future to come. Your future is changing. Your future is created in the present moment. But that doesn't mean that just because you're happy now and like, you know, you're in a positive place, that there's still going to be lessons along the way that come about that maybe put you in an off day or an off moment or an off season, because growth is needed. If you're not growing, you're stagnant. So in order to keep ascending and elevating, there's going to be things that happen in your life that kind of push you back or to revisit something so that you can continue to have growth and elevate and become even better and better. And that is a beautiful thing. So future is not set in stone. And this is why, like I heard someone say, if there were real psychics in the world, then there would be no missing people. That's not true. That's not true. Because for one thing, true, genuine psychics do not always see a lot of specifics all of the time. If you are someone who can, then I would love to learn from you. But I know in my experiences, I don't always see specifics. I'm channeled a message, but it's like trying to put a puzzle piece together. And I feel like that's because we're not meant to know everything. Because if we knew everything, then there's no room for growth. And sometimes it's the universe protecting us. Do you know how much baggage and traumatic that would be to be a psychic and to know where every single missing person in the world was and everything they've been through, and to see all that trauma and pain? Like, that can destroy a person as well, no matter how spiritually powerful they are. So that's just an example, but it's also an example in the sense that future's not set in stone either. Well, maybe that wasn't that necessarily was an example for future not being set in stone, but I say all that to say that I did a video on this earlier. Hold on. Especially in new moon cycle. What was for new moon cycle? Which part? I got off track. So remind me what you were referring to. I say all that to say, like, use psychic readings, especially when it comes to asking questions about your future, as a navigation tool for you in terms of how you want to handle things. How, not even want, but how the best way in your highest good to handle things, rather than seeing that reading as, this is my destiny, this is my fate, and it's not going to change, it is what it is. Because the people, and this is not to come at anybody, this is because I realize more and more that there's a lot of wounded people out here with traumas and sometimes delusions walking around, thinking that they don't have the power of their life, that this is destiny, that person's destiny, this is fate. And if you're coming at a reading that way, thinking that somebody's going to come and predict your whole future and you have nothing to do with it, you're going to continuously be disappointed, because we are continuously changing our future in the moment. So using psychic readings as a navigation tool, as like, okay, I'm self-aware, I know myself, I'm in touch with my spirit and my intuition, so this resonates but this doesn't, but I can see how I can use this information to better myself and you know, draw a map for where I want to go now. That's kind of a good way to use a psychic reading versus, this is the destiny, this is the fate, this is my future, and there's no room in between to alter anything. That's not the way to go about it, because you do have power. And the people that go about psychic readings that want their whole future predicted right, hey Sabrina, that want their whole future predicted right in front of them, those are the people that end up being a lot of the time miserable. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of the time those are the miserable people, because they don't realize their own power and they're not self-aware and they're not in touch with their standards or what's best for them. They don't know themselves, so they're needing somebody else to tell them who they are. And if you're always letting somebody else tell you who you are and where you're going, you're kind of signing yourself up for a disappointing life a lot of the time. So this is why it's really, really important to use psychic readings as food for thought, but not the end all be all. And because your future is always changing depending upon you, the actions you take, what you believe, what you're doing, and whether or not you know yourself. And some of the times, a lot of us can be in a denial about certain things, certain experiences, certain traumas that we're not seeing in that moment that are blocking us. You know what I mean? And that could be contributing to wanting things that are not good for us. So, and I did a YouTube on this. I think it was called The Best Way to Get a Psychic Reading or something like that. I may not be remembering the exact title, but it's something along those lines. So if you search YouTube for that and then put in Psychic Goddess Erika, it should come up. Or if you just scroll my channel, it should come up. But I saw somebody say something. Okay, so you were saying the new moon cycle is good for making changes. Yes, it definitely is. Thank you. It definitely is. Okay. So now that all of that is said, and if you missed it, I will save it, put it on YouTube, and always feel free to comment, join, talk to me here. Once it's on YouTube, you can always talk to me in the comments there too. Like, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. But yes, knowing your future can change your future, because it's what you do with that information. In summary, what you do with that information and how you then go about things can alter your future, because your future is changing moment to moment depending upon you. You're the magician of your own life. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, and then also if you have Q&A questions, start thinking of them, or you can type them out now and I'll get to them. Q&A questions in terms of like anything you want to know about me, or just advice for anything psychic, spiritual, manifestation stuff, anything witchy, spooky season, we can talk about stuff like that, like ghosts and spirits, whatever you want. I'll open up to that. But I also wanted to talk about why we need more open psychics in fields like as therapists. We need more open psychics that are professionally trained, qualified therapists. And I put it in quotes because what I think that I like to use this example. If someone went to school to be a mechanic, right? They read all the books, they had all the teachers, they learned all the lessons, but then taught everything they know to this person over here. This person over here now holds all of the same exact information, plus their own experiences as well, but for some reason, we would discount that person even though they learned the same way. And I'm not saying that everyone's qualified to be a therapist. Definitely not. You want to go to someone who is qualified. But the reason I put it this way is because some of us know what you're going through because we have experienced some of the similar traumas in our own lives and then have worked through it to help ourselves, and like maybe we've gone to therapy ourselves, so we have a certain knowledge to help. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean we're less educated or smart, but you in certain cases you still do want to go to somebody with the credentials, which is why I say, like, I am an open psychic, right? It's open intuitive, and I have a good grasp on a lot of subject matter that I've learned in therapy myself, or that I've just taught myself or learned from therapists themselves, but I don't have the credentials, right? And when it comes to a lot of things, we want and need somebody to have that safe space, you know, mentally, that you're in good hands by having somebody who has the credentials. So we need to have more open psychics studying psychiatry. We need more open psychics becoming therapists and detectives in law enforcement and as judges, because it takes, in order to be a good therapist, in order to be a good detective, in order to be a good judge, etc., or even lawyer. Well, I wouldn't even say lawyer because that's more of a game of who can give a better, who can make a better point versus actually caring about the right or wrong. But let's just keep it to detective and therapist for now. In order to be a good detective and therapist, you have to have a certain level of intuition to kind of figure out what that person is going through and why, right? But the thing is, a lot of therapists, not all, but a lot of therapists don't believe in psychics, but they will use words like intuit, like, I intuit that you experienced blah 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 at this age and this is why this is happening, or you could intuit this or that, right? They'll use words like intuit or intuition, not realizing that that is psychic ability. Psychic ability is intuition, right? But I think that mainstream society and therapists and those in law enforcement and detectives and stuff like that, they have I don't know what the real word for it, but like movie size, like movie, like they've seen too many movies, so they have like this movie version of what psychic ability looks like that is sometimes over exaggerated. So therefore they write it off as not being a thing, but they will consider intuition as a thing, right? But it's really the same thing. Like, intuition is psychic ability. So the reason I say that is because we need more people within the spiritual community, we need more people within the spiritual community going through the levels and getting the certification so that we can help people, because a lot of then you have the best of both sides, the best of both worlds, right? I tell people all the time, I'm intuitive, I'm psychic, I'm woo-woo, but I'm also realistic, right? So we need people that are openly spiritual, but also getting the education the right way to have the certifications to help people. Why? And I was talking to my friend Raina from the Bridge Between podcast. Shout out Raina. We're talking about how sometimes therapists and spiritualists or psychics or mediums, which same, you can be both, we're talking about the same thing in different ways, right? We're talking about the same things in different ways. So here's an example she gave, and I've seen, I had some too, but like in my mind, but she was saying how like, okay, let's look at multiple personality disorder, and I think it may have a different name now, but that they call it something different now, and possession, right? The therapist might say, this is multiple personality disorder. I know that's not the technical name for it now, I think. And the spiritualist might say, they're under demonic possession, or there's an entity stuck to them, right? We might be talking about the same thing, but calling it something different because of how we view things. But there are also people can misdiagnose each other one way or the other. Like sometimes, let's say schizophrenia, right? Let's say someone goes to the therapist, right? And they are a medium. Spiritually, they have the ability to hear spirits. And they never worked through their gift. They never learned that they have a gift. They go to a therapist or psychiatrist or something, and they're like, oh, you have schizophrenia. And they start medicating them. But they are just like misdiagnosing someone with a spiritual gift who never learned how to use it. This is why we need more spiritual people in these fields so that we can work with them, because they may not need pills, for example. But it could also be misdiagnosed in the other way around. You know what I mean? Like somebody could really have a chemical imbalance in their brain, even though I feel like I feel like there's a spiritual cause for everything that manifests in a physical way, but it could also be misdiagnosed the other way around. Like if someone truly is having something going on in their brain, and a spiritual person never actually went to like med school or to get the help, like the education there, then they may also misdiagnose this person of, oh, you're just a medium, you know, this and that, and they're not getting the other help they need in terms of like psychology. You see what I'm saying? Like it can go either way, but I think there's misdiagnosis either way sometimes. And sometimes it could be a combination of both. Because like I said, I feel like there's a spiritual cause for everything. But I think that there needs to be more spiritual people in these fields, because there's other ways to treat things beyond medication, you know, especially if somebody is spiritually gifted and not aware of this gift. And like we know for long periods of time the experiments that were put on people because it wasn't okay and acceptable to be out and be a medium or to be a psychic, because of all the reasons why people are scared of the term psychic. You know what I mean? They will diagnose them as this wrong with them, that wrong with them, when really they are spiritually gifted people that need to know how to filter their gift. But so we were just talking about that. And also like even when it comes to like detective work, right? Imagine if more open psychics went into detective work. Then you could use evidence and your abilities to help people. But because you then have the credentials to make society happy, then, you know, you're seen as respected, right? Rather than in certain ways looked down upon, which is unfortunately the case a lot of the time. I see your guys' questions coming through. Perfect. I'm gonna look into those in a moment. But I just wanted to say one more thing. But I say all that to say, like, certain therapists and even like law enforcement and things like that, they're scared of the term psychic, not even realizing that all that is somebody who's in touch with their intuition, but they will use the word intuition. And whether it's religion, whether it's false things we see in movies or overly exaggerated forms of psychic ability in movies, people are scared of those things. But anyways, let me get to your questions. What y'all talking about? Do more lives about candle colors and their significance. Okay, I'll definitely write that down for the future. It'll either be a live or a YouTube video. But what I can say, if you don't know what color to use, always use white. Always use a white candle if you don't know what color to use. There's a book, I have it, I just don't feel like digging for it right now. I think it's literally called Candle Magic for Beginners, and it's like orange. I think it had like an orange cover. I recommend that one, but I'll definitely do at some point a video on that in the future. What is the best way to clean up your negative spiritual energy? I wouldn't say there's a best way, because what resonates for me may not resonate for you. But like, for example, over here I have a protection candle going. It's black. Black absorbs negative energy. And I put my intentions under it. And I have a YouTube up. I have a few Candle Magic YouTubes already up, but that's the one I call the sticky note method, because there's pink sticky notes under it. So candles are one thing. Just be cautious of the plants around it. Like the aloe vera plant is okay, but sometimes if you do a black candle, if you put like a flower over there, it might suck the energy out the flower as well. Not because the flower is negative, but black candles really absorb a lot of energy. You could also wear black. Black absorbs negative energy. Other things like using sage or incense to clear energy, or Palo Santo or sweetgrass. I have a bell on the table. I have a video up about using a bell to clear energy. You can use matches. You can use like fire meditations. I have those up too. So there's so many different ways, but you gotta find ones that resonate with you. But one of the simplest is taking a shower. That's my favorite, I think, because hopefully we're doing it every day, right? Using the shower and imagining the shower cleansing away the negativity off of you, washing the past off of you, and then replenishing what you need to replenish with. One of the simplest is taking a shower, and maybe you can do things like add Florida water like spray the shower with Florida water to help add that cleansing energy, or burn incense while you're in the shower. That's one of my favorites. But there's lots of different ways. I wouldn't say there's a best way. It's just like what works for you. Salt baths works for me. Yes, someone is saying salt baths is good for them. Yes, definitely salt baths. Sea salt, Himalayan salt. You can even get salts from metaphysical shops that are meant to like cleanse energy. There's so many different things you can do. And like I always say, you can make anything a spell. You can make anything a spell. I could take this coffee right here, spin it counterclockwise. It may look like the opposite to you on camera, but I'm spinning it to my left on my end. You could take this coffee right here, spin it counterclockwise, give it an intention to remove this or that. Thank you, so it is. Then call in clockwise what you want to call in, what you want to bring back into you. Thank you, so it is, and then drink it. Look, it's a whole spell, and I was drinking the coffee anyway. So you can make anything magic. It's an intention. Black nails, same thing. You know, I do magic with my press-on nails and my hair. You can give anything an intention, and it'll work for you. Love the shower. What about the white candles? I don't know if you meant to put cat candles or if you just meant white candles. White candles, yes, white candles are good for any purpose. Like if you are a beginner in candle magic and using candles as intention, and you don't know what color to use, white is like all purpose, because white is the combination of all color in one. So that's why I recommend white candles if you don't know which one to use. But I think that's all I have for you guys right now. I'm gonna go hop on over to do some of my reading orders, and this was fun, and I will talk to you guys another time. Bye.